Shalom, my name is Aaron Lipkin. We are in ancient Shiloh today, and I have a special guest who's going to join me in touring this great site. His name is Zach. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Aaron. Great to be here with you today.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Are you ready for a great experience today?
I'm ready.
We have some special sights to see.
Awesome.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
We are entering a mosque from the late Arab period. It's called the Mosque of the 60, Jam el-Sittin. Under that is much earlier periods, like the Persian period and the Roman period, the Byzantine period. But you can see that before that it was from the Byzantine period, it was a church. And Shiloh indeed is a very, very important site. It's a holy site for both Islam and Christianity.
Wow.
So what do you think? You like it?
Really cool. Like I can see all the different layers in there. So this is a Byzantine church. Like that's back a lot of hundreds of years. But is there anywhere where we can see like even older, like from the Bible, like we have the stories of the Israelites, and that would be really awesome if we could actually see something. I mean, I would like to like walk in the footsteps of the Israelite people.
Walk in the footsteps of Israel. You know, this place is where the tabernacle stood. And I wanted to take you to see where the place is, but I think if you want to walk, if you really, really want to walk in the footsteps of Joshua and the Israelites, I think I have the exact place that you're looking for. And it's a place that nobody goes to. It's really unknown. Let's go to my car.
All right. All right, Aaron, so you got me really curious. Where are we going?
It's a surprise, but before we're going to the place that I want to show you, I want to take you to a lookout point at the Jordan Valley. It will give you a preview of what you're about to see.
Awesome. Sounds great.
We are here at a great lookout point looking at the Jordan Valley. You see the
Amazing.
beautiful mountains of the Jordan Valley going down to the Jordan River and the Jordanian mountains on the other side. Why am I bringing you here? Because when the Israelites come to the land from Egypt after wandering in the desert, where did they step for the first time?
So they would have crossed over Jordan at Jericho, right?
Exactly. It says in the Bible that the Israelites crossed the Jordan River in the area of Jericho, going forward to conquer Jericho, as it says in the book of Joshua. But with your permission, I want to go back a bit to the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. When Abraham is told by God to come to the land of Canaan, Abraham goes first to the area of Shechem, of Elon Moreh, the city of Shechem. When you want to go and you want to cross the Jordan into the land of Canaan, the land of Israel, and you want to go to Shechem, you have to take a certain path. And so there is a main road, a main ancient road that has been in existence for thousands of years through the Yabok River on the eastern side of Jordan River, crossing the Jordan River and going up through the Tirza Valley to the area of Shechem. And most biblical scholars believe that both Abraham and also Jacob, when returning from Lavan, his uncle, went through that route, through the Yabok River, crossing the Jordan River, going up to the Tirza Valley, up to Shechem. And when we look at the book of Deuteronomy, we read that Moses commands the Israelites to go immediately after crossing the Jordan to the area of Shechem. And so the logical thing to do when crossing the Jordan is to go through the ancient route that I just mentioned. So when you look at the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11, verse 29, these mountains are on the other side of Jordan, close to Gilgal, beside the terebinth of Moreh, beyond the road to the west which lies in the territory of the Canaanites of the Arabah. And so when Moses talks about going to the place where they need to do the blessings and the curses, he talks about that ancient route. So what we see here are two traditions, two stories. The story of entering the land through the area of Jericho, and the tradition of Moses in the book of Deuteronomy of entering the land through the Yabok River. And when Adam Zertal surveys the Jordan Valley, he finds hundreds and hundreds of sites from the area of the entrance of the Yabok Valley northward. And this discovery of the hundreds of sites from the Israelite period just breaks the idea that the Bible never happened. There is clear existence of Israelites in the land. And where? Not in the area of Jericho, but in the area of the Yabok River and the Tirza Valley. We're in a very, very interesting site, but before I tell you about it, I just want to look around and see where we are. So you can see the mountains of Jordan beautifully to the east. You can imagine how the tribes of Israel are standing on these mountains, wanting to cross the Jordan River into the land of Canaan. We are, as you can see, in an area that is basically a wilderness. It's a desert. This is the desert of Samaria. There's not a lot of rainfall here, and so during the ages there has been very little residence of people here in this area. If people wanted to live in a good place with water, they would go up to the mountains of Samaria. So this place was, like I said, a wilderness. It was untouched for many, many years. Remember, we were in Shiloh, and it's a big archaeological tell, so you have a lot of people coming to the same place during the ages and building one on top of the other. That's why when we're looking for any proof or any remains from the time of the Israelite period, this is the place to look for it. Now, Professor Adam Zertal that we mentioned earlier, with his crew, surveyed the Jordan Valley and Samaria. And he found hundreds and hundreds of nomadic camps in the Jordan Valley and in the Shomron, in Samaria, dating to the Israelite period. That's about 3,000 years ago.
Wow, that's amazing. So how did they know for sure that it was from that time period?
That's a very good question. The first thing that archaeologists use in order to date a certain place is the pottery, the clay that they find there. Because every pottery, every clay is indigenous to a certain civilization, a certain people. For example, Canaanite pottery is different than Philistine pottery, and Israelite pottery is different from both of those. And indeed, Adam Zertal finds hundreds of them, but he also finds two structures that he really cannot explain. They do not look like a camp, a place of residence. One of them, the first one, was found in 1981 around the altar of Joshua, the altar on Mount Ebal, in a very, very peculiar shape. Nobody really knew what it was then. Later on in 1985, Adam Zertal, in his survey, finds another structure that is, again, unexplainable, not a place of residency. It's called Unuk, because it looks like a chain, a pearl chain. And then Adam Zertal and his crew arrived to this place where we are, right beside the modern Jewish village of Argaman. And they're standing here, and first of all, as archaeologists, they find clay, a lot of Israelite clay.
So it's dated right off the bat.
Exactly. Without excavating, they're just looking at the clay and they're saying this is Israelite clay. But what really fascinates them is that they see that there is an ancient wall that goes all around this area. And this ancient wall makes them remember their former mysterious locations that they found. Mm-hmm. The first location being around the altar, the Ebal altar, and the second is Unuk, which is in the middle of the Tirza Valley. This side that we are in right now resembles the other two sides. But this one has a very, very interesting shape to it. So Adam Zrtal and his crew come here, and they are measuring and doing a sketch of this formation here. And there's a very interesting shape that comes out of that sketch. What does it look like? Tell me, what does it look like?
You can see how the wall goes around, and from here, it's kind of oval shape. I don't know, what did he say?
Well, this formation, very much like the two other formations that they found, resembles the footprint of a human being, of the right leg, the right footprint. Do you see it?
Wow. Maybe a little bit, like I can see the edge, but it's a little bit hard to tell that there's any more than just sort of a circular shape.
You know what? I have an idea. I have a guest in my car. It's a drone.
Okay.
We're going to bring it up into the air, and we're going to have a better view of this formation. And then you tell me what you think it is.
All right, sounds good.
What does it look like?
Wow, definitely looks like a foot. That is crazy.
Now let's do just a general tour of the site from above. You can see here that the wall is partly two stones stuck to each other, and then the wall is two stones far apart, and a person can walk in that procession road, and we'll see that up close very, very soon. And now let's go to the central area, and you see how the area is surrounded by four walls. This is the second part. The third part, let's go over there. This is circular landmark inside the footprint. People think that it might be the altar or some sort of a worshiping landmark.
Wait, so what's the tower right over here?
This is a tower that was built by the residents of Argaman, so people can stand on it one day and watch the footprint from high above. The interesting thing about this site is that you have a wall that is going in a certain way, in a certain route, for a certain reason. It doesn't fit the geographical situation that we have here. This is kind of like a plateau, and yet part of the wall in this site is a regular wall, two stones standing one beside the other all the way. And at a certain point, on an ancient floor, on an ancient pavement that we are standing right now, starts a new beginning of the wall, and a new way for the wall to be reshaped. And here what you see is that the wall changes. There are two rows of stones apart from each other, with enough space for people to walk between them and go in a procession road, a place to step and walk and go around.
Wow. So did he have any idea like what the purpose was of making a procession around the wall? Like why would they be doing that?
Well, this is one of the things that made Professor Adam Zrtal think that this place is not a place of residence, it's not a place of agriculture, this is a place of worship, it's a spiritual place. And Professor Adam Zrtal said that circling around the holy place is something that is very common and appears in many places in the Bible. For example, in the Feast of Tabernacles, the Israelites walk around the altar with the four species. When the Israelites come into the land, they circle around Jericho. So circling is a very, very important religious, worshiping, spiritual thing to do. And this procession road basically tells us, listen, this place is a holy place. It's a religious place. It's a spiritual place. And the way to worship God here is to go around the formation. And very interestingly, do you know how to say in Hebrew holiday?
It's Chag.
Chag, very good. The word Chag in Hebrew comes from the verb or the action of lachug, which means to go around. So we say every day Chag Sameach, happy holiday, but we're saying happy circling because Chag, holiday, is to circle. And Professor Adam Zrtal said that this comes from this formation, from this custom right here. Now the Israelites are circling. If they're circling something, there must be something in the middle, something central. We are, I think, in the most important area in this footprint right here. You can see that there is an inner area that is surrounded by walls from all its sides. And the assumption, we need to be very careful, but the assumption of Professor Adam Zrtal was that the tabernacle, the place, the most important place of worship was situated right here in this area. And you can see that there is a natural theater right beside this enclosure, this formation. And, you know, Zach, try to imagine hundreds and thousands of Israelites sitting on this theater right here, watching the ceremonies that are being done here during the Feast of Tabernacles and Pentecost and Passover. And this is the most important part of this footprint right here. This is the newest discovery of a footprint enclosure. This was just found 3 years ago in the year 2013. As you can see, it keeps the shape of the footprint, which is very, very typical to all the footprint formations that we've spoken about. So let's just summarize the footprints that were found until today. The first one is at Mount Ebal, and then Unuk at the Tirza Valley. Argaman, Yafit, Masua, and the sixth one, which is the one that we're in right now, that was found 3 years ago.
This is so mysterious. Like, why the shape of a footprint?
That's a great question, Zach. I think it's the biggest question that we have now after seeing these 6 footprint formations. And I don't have an answer. I can't go back in time 3,000 years and ask the Israelites why did they choose to do this in this specific shape. The only thing we could do at this point is look at something from their time, something that describes their stories and their thoughts, and that is the Bible. And when we open the Bible and we're looking at phrases and sentences that refer to footprints, we can basically divide it to 4 groups of references, 4 meanings that always join with the word foot. The first group is ownership of territory. Every place that you will tread with the sole of your foot on it shall be yours from the wilderness as far as the Lebanon. In the book of Joshua, which is the exact time that we're referring to when we're talking about the footprints in the Jordan Valley. Every place where the sole of your footsteps, to you I have given it, precisely as I told Moses. Let's see what other types of references we have. The existence of the people. I will no longer allow Israel's foot to wander out of the land I gave to their fathers.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like the whole footprint idea, because now a lot of scriptures are coming to mind. Like, I'm thinking of Psalm 121, where it says that He will not allow your foot to be moved. Like, wow, this is so cool, and especially since that psalm is the psalm that they would have sang on their way up to worship in the temple during the feast. So, wow, that's
Right.
so cool.
Right. And so, and the verse you just said is it immediately refers to the existence of the people, the fact that the presence of Israel is a permanent presence in the land. Another reference that we can talk about is the victory upon enemies. You knew how that David, my father, could not build a house to the name of the Lord his God for the wars which were about him on every side, until the Lord put them under the soles of his feet. Under the sole of the feet is victory over the enemy. Another verse, He made nations prostrate beneath us and people under our feet. So this is victory over the enemy. This is another meaning for the foot. And I would say the last category is the symbol of God. The glory of Lebanon shall come to you, the fir, the pine, and box trees together to beauty the place of my sanctuary, and the place of my feet I shall glory. So the foot is also, in a way, in a symbolic way, it's God's foot. It's God's presence in the land. And there are theories that this might be even some sort of influence by ancient Egypt. You know that the Israelites were in Egypt for 400 years. So I'm sure that they were influenced by the Egyptian culture. And when we look at ancient Egypt, we see that the footprint or the foot of Pharaoh is not just a physical foot, it's also a spiritual foot. You know that Pharaoh was regarded by the Egyptians as a god. And so when we look at hieroglyphs and we see ancient pictures in Egypt, we see that the leg of Pharaoh is over the nations, that he rules the land, he rules the world. And so that might be another reason why the Israelites chose the shape of a footprint.
Wow, Aaron, I'm not going to be able to read the Bible the same. Like you're bringing so much more meaning to foot and footprint. This is incredible.
Yeah, it really, when you go into archaeology and it corresponds with the Bible and things that are happening in the Bible, suddenly it really changes the way that you see things. Mm-hmm. It also brings new light to things that we've been talking and saying for years, and suddenly we understand the depth of it. And I'll give you an example. The word pilgrimage in English. So in Hebrew, when we want to say pilgrimage, we want to say that we're going up to the holy place, to the temple or the tabernacle. We say in Hebrew, aliyah laregel. Aliyah laregel literally means to go up to the foot. Now, we as Israelis, we don't think about it when we say it. I always thought as a child that aliyah laregel, going up to the foot, actually means going up with the foot, because people didn't have cars and trucks as a child. But today, now that we've seen these footprint formations, and we're looking at this term aliyah laregel, going up to the foot, we understand where it comes from. The Israelites would worship God. They would go up to the holy place, which is the footprint.
So Aaron, as we're talking here, I'm saying that this place is so significant. Do we find it in the Bible anywhere?
We need to look for places of worship in the Bible. We understand that these formations, these footprint formations, are religious monuments. They are spiritual. They are places of worship. So where do we find them in the Bible? We know of the tabernacle in Shiloh. We know of Bethel being a very important place of worship. But what other places do we have in the Bible of worship? Do you remember Gilgal?
Yes, isn't that where when they came up from Egypt, they entered into the land at Gilgal?
Exactly. We read in the book of Joshua that the Israelites come into the land and then they do a circumcision ceremony at a place called Gilgal, right? Now, as a kid, I always read that and I said, well, so there's a place called Gilgal, there's a place called Jerusalem and Bethlehem, and Gilgal is somewhere around Jericho. But when you look closely at the Bible and you read the biblical story, you see that Gilgal is not a name of a certain geographical location, but rather it appears in different places. You can see when Moses tells the people of Israel to go and do the ceremony at Mount Gerizim in the book of Deuteronomy, that he tells them that they should go through the road of the sun that we've mentioned earlier. And the road of the sun goes through a place called Gilgal, which is right by Elon Moreh, which is in the area of Shechem. It's a different geographical area. Another place that is mentioned as Gilgal is the border between the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, near the village of Ma'ale Adumim, which is again not in the area of Jericho. So there are at least three distinct places that are called Gilgal. And what do we know about these places? We know that these places serve not just as a landmark of a border between two tribes, but more as a place of worship. So we see that the Gilgal is not just a geographical place, but it's actually a function. Gilgal is a place where you get organized before going to battle. Is where you sacrifice and worship to God. It's where you crown the king. King Saul was crowned at the Gilgal. And so Gilgal, apparently in the Bible, is not a name of a geographical location, but rather a place of worship, a spiritual place. And the theory is that these footprint formations that we've seen today are all Gilgalim. They're all Gilgal, just in different places, in different locations. And so we see the 6 footprints that are located in the Jordan Valley going up north into the area of Shechem. And this is really the way that the Israelites expanded in the land. That's the way they came in and they started settling the land. You look at these formations and you're saying to yourself, these Israelites, what did they want to say by building these amazing structures? What is their message to people then and to people today? And I believe that the fact that these humongous formations were built the way they were built is to proclaim God's name in the world. It's for both Israelites and for non-Jews to see these structures and get reminded that God is in control, that the earth is God's footstool. This is the place where God puts his feet in the ground, and we should be aware of God's presence. We should be aware that God is in control of the land, of the world, of our lives. And I think that the second thing is that the footstep is a sign in the book of Joshua that wherever we will put our foot will be ours. This is an ancient flag. When we come and conquer something, when we come and say this is ours, we put a flag. And this is the ancient flag of ancient times. The Israelites are saying the land was promised to us, this is ours. And today as a Jew living here, coming back to my land, this is my land. And today we have an Israeli flag right beside us, an Israeli flag. And so this was the flag of ancient times.
Wow, that's so amazing. Thank you so much for showing me these places. I do have one question, though, before we take off. So you've shown me these different footprints, but we know biblically that Jerusalem is one of the holiest places. What about Jerusalem?
Great question. Well, if I could take my drone and take a photo of Jerusalem, maybe I could give you a good answer. But we have a very, very good sketch of Jerusalem in the First Temple period. You can see very, very clearly that the wall of Jerusalem is marking an outline that looks exactly like a footprint.
Wow. Not only in these places here, but even in Jerusalem, there's the footprint right there.
Exactly.
Wow, that
Yes.
is incredible.
The Israelites there remembered the Gilgal, they knew what it was. They came here, they worshipped here, and they remembered that shape, and they brought it also to Jerusalem.
Wow. Incredible.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Zach, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Aaron.
I
It's
hope-
been amazing.
I hope your anticipation was fulfilled.
Yes, for sure. I feel like I definitely walked in the footsteps of the Israelites. Thank you.
I invite you to come with Lipkin Tours to visit special sites that are off the beaten path, sites that are very, very important and are in the Bible, places where you can stand and feel God. I invite you to come to Samaria, Israel's biblical heartland, where prophecy was told and where prophecy is fulfilled.